Now, during this short presentation, I'm going to give you some important tips that will help you to complete a successful application form. I'm aware of many people who submit an application form for a job and they hear absolutely nothing back. These important tips will help you to complete a successful application. Now, the first thing before I get into these tips is to point this out. Employers, as I'm sure you can imagine, receive many hundreds of applications for jobs. So they'll put a job out there and they get loads and loads of applications. Even though it is wrong that you may not hear anything back, even if it's a thank you but no thanks letter, it can be very frustrating, but you need to understand that they have a lot of people to deal with. Therefore, you need to make sure that your form is both concise and it's relevant. A lot of people fail the application form stage simply because they either fail to read the guidance notes or provide sufficient evidence of where they meet the person specification or the job description for the role that they are applying for. So make sure you spend plenty of time when completing your application form. Some people say to me, Richard, should I wait until a couple of days before the deadline before I submit my application form, because this will give me more time to check over it? My advice is this: make sure you get your form in as soon as possible after the application has been sent out. Don't wait until the last minute. The reason why I say this is because some employers do have a cut-off point after they receive a number of application forms. Now, I'm not saying that's the same for every employer, but I am aware that that does happen in some organisations. Having said that, that doesn't mean to say you should rush the form. Okay, you can realistically complete a form in 1 or 2 evenings, but I would certainly set aside plenty of time to give yourself and the form justice. Okay, let's move on to the tips, and these are very simple tips. So here's how to complete a successful application form. The first things you need to consider. Now, it goes without saying, but you should sit down and read the form fully first of all. Okay, make sure you read the form from front to back and take down any notes on a spare piece of paper, any important elements that you think you might need to consider. Okay, so read the form thoroughly first of all. When you're reading the application form, you should also read the guidance notes, if guidance notes do come with the form. Sometimes on an application form they will direct you to a website where you can download the guidance notes. Make sure you read them, because the guidance notes generally provide you with some important tips of what is required. The guidance notes may ask you to complete the application form in a certain colour ink. Now, many application forms nowadays are required to be completed on and submitted online, but some of them are still pen and paper based. If that is the case, it may say make sure that you complete the form in black ink. If you complete it in blue ink, all you are doing is giving the employer the chance to put your form in the bin and reject it. Make sure you cover and read all of the guidance notes. When I've completed application forms in the past, I have basically got myself a highlighter pen and gone over the guidance notes and highlighted any key areas that are of importance. And then when I've completed the form, I'll cross-reference it with the guidance notes to make sure that I've covered every eventuality. The point here that I'm making is don't give the employer or the person marking the form the chance to reject it. Make sure you complete all required fields. Even if something isn't applicable to you, you should put in there NA for not applicable unless stated otherwise. Now, I've already mentioned this. Make sure you use the correct colour ink. You should also provide evidence of where you meet the person specification. Now, you can normally get the job description and the person specification from the website of the company or organisation that you're applying to join. In their career section will normally be a person specification. Now, I come on to this in more detail during another video which you can get hold of on careervids.com. But basically you need to provide evidence of where you meet the person specification. So if it says on the person specification that in order to fulfill this role the person must be a team player, on the application form it might say provide details and evidence of where you believe you would be suitable to the role. In that area on the form, I would be providing evidence of the specific areas on the person's specification. So I would be providing details of where I have already worked as part of a team. That is very important. Once you've completed the form, get somebody else to read it over and get them to read it back to you, because you should never proofread your own work, because we will miss out mistakes. Some employers will mark you down for spelling errors and grammar errors, punctuation errors on your application form. So get somebody to read it back to you. They will be able to then point out whether there are any mistakes that you need to rectify. Finally, the two next points: make sure you photocopy the form, because if you do get invited to assessment or interview, when you go to the interview, the employer will probably sit there and go through your application form. So make sure you are able to read it before you go to the interview. And finally, send the form recorded delivery. That's unless you are submitting the application form online. And the reason why I say that is because, do you trust the post? How do you know that the form has actually got there? And for an extra few pence, you can send the form recorded delivery and you have peace of mind that the company have received it. Okay, you can get more videos on how to pass and how to complete an application form, and also how to pass any job selection process and interview at www.careervids.com. Thank you very much for watching.